There's our theme tune, made by Emily, a student at Exeter College. Very good, we like it. Hello, it's Rob Chadwick here, and I'm back again on February the 17th, 2025, with Nick Copson.
Hi Rob, hi Bill, hi everyone.
And with Bill Martin.
Good afternoon, everyone.
How are we doing, everybody?
Oh, we're in good shape, I think. Yeah, it's half term, isn't it? So the roads are quiet.
I am really pleased with half term,
Yeah, I
as
bet
you
you
can
are.
imagine. Yeah.
From the educational establishment.
The students have been cranky this last couple of weeks. I think it's the January, February blues, and you feel like it's still too long until the end of the year, and yet it's kind of it's boring and cold and all, but they've been really cranky.
Right.
So I've been ready for it, and I think they've been ready to take a break from me.
Have you been cranky then?
I think I'm always cranky.
Everyone's cranky in February, aren't they?
I think I'm just turning into a miserable old man, basically. So I think probably I'm always cranky, Nick. So today, it's February the 17th, 2025. Please like and subscribe. Listen to what we're doing on a regular basis. We're going to be doing a bit more publicity, hopefully, in the near future and get the word out more. Nick texted our little WhatsApp group, and that is relevant, we've got to do this story. I'm all over it. The press is all over it. And so we are going to do that story. And we just said, Nick, can you summarise it? And we got about 5 minutes of, so we've decided Bill's going to summarise what the story is, because he's got the ability to speak clearly.
Story was, I think it just shows how quickly the news agenda moves on these days, but the story was MP Andrew Gwynn was sacked by the Labour Party after the contents of a WhatsApp group that he and at least one other MP and several Labour councillors were in, called Trigger My Timbers. He was sacked, another MP was suspended, and since then I think 11 councillors have been suspended by the Labour Party as well, including one of whom was Mr Gwynn's wife, Alison.
Wow. And some of the content was, are we going to say what some of the jokes were and stuff, or are we going to allow people to use their imaginations? There was some fairly unsavoury stuff there in those as content, wasn't there?
Well, that's a matter of opinion, of course, but I think there are definitely, if you look at it in detail, there is some language and some things that were said that,
it was using controversy for laughs, which is an age-old way of getting laughs. Ricky Gervais does it very effectively. Jimmy Carr does it very effectively. And we wanted to investigate whether we felt, this story basically. And the first question I came up with was, shouldn't a WhatsApp group, which is personal, remain personal? What's the difference between the press reporting what went on in that personal WhatsApp group and the press reporting what they've managed to phone hack as information from people back about 10, 15 years ago? So that's my first question.
Well, I don't think the issue is about the press reporting it, is it? It's about the means of how it was obtained. But, the first part of your question is, shouldn't WhatsApp, messages in a WhatsApp group be private?
Yeah.
Well, yes and no is the answer to that. And I think it depends who you are, doesn't it? Now, we have a WhatsApp group. I don't think any of us have reputation enough in order to make it worth one of us leaking the contents of the groups and that sort of thing.
True.
But if you are an MP, you have been elected by your constituents, you're in a group with other MPs and councillors who all would have been elected by their constituents. And my guess is, I can't quite work out the sense of the Trigger My Timbers name of the group, but my guess is it was there to discuss party matters in the constituency and make sure, who knows what it was there for. But it's also a big group.
There was about 20 people in it, wasn't there?
So we know of 11, 12, 13 who've either been sacked or suspended, pending investigation. Are the contents of a conversation like that ever going to be that confidential? In my opinion, no, because one, there's too many people. Two, they're all elected, either councillors or MPs. Their constituencies, they're acting on behalf of their constituencies. They should be representing their constituents. And somebody's leaked it. So someone in that group leaked that, felt uncomfortable enough or strongly enough about what was being said to leak that to the press.
Or thought they could make some money out of it.
Or thought
Possibly,
they could make some money.
Don't know what's
But
happened.
I would really doubt that.
Do you think not? There wouldn't be any payment involved?
I would really doubt it. I mean, I know a little bit about, the business of selling stories and things like that, and it's not nearly as lucrative it was in the 80s. I'm sure stories still get sold and that sort of thing. Would this be sold? I doubt it.
It's a low-level MP, isn't it? It's not. I can't see that as being a...
It does feel like,
Something like
who
money
really
involved.
cares? We'd forgotten what his name was.
I think,
and
I
it's
think
only a
it's
week
clearly
ago.
a vindictive. It looks like a vindictive sort of task activity that they're designed to damage either his or the Labour Party's reputation.
Yeah.
Job done.
Yeah.
Or maybe someone felt strongly that an MP of his standing,
Should
who was
be
a
doing
minister,
exactly.
shouldn't be using language like that about his constituents. I do.
I mean, the WhatsApp groups, by their very nature, are private and personal between the people who've consented to be part of them. There's all sorts of encryption going on at the back end that even WhatsApp and Meta can't see that stuff, right? So they are personal and private. But if somebody then chooses to share that outside of that medium, then they can do that. They have that right. So
they do. Do we think... So it was jokes. And I think the trigger me timbers thing it was clearly set up as a way of the trigger thing being like being illiberal and being able to say what you want to say, as opposed to just having a laugh, things you wouldn't normally be able to say in public, because that was the point of it. And I think probably the trigger me timbers is probably a reference to the fact this is a forum for us to let off some steam and make some jokes and say things we wouldn't normally say. So if that is the pre-decided format and point of that group, it just feels wrong to me that someone then turns around and says, actually, no, you've gone that little bit further than I really thought we should. And so now I'm going to tell people. They still can, and that's fine. And then is it then okay for the press to go, well, great, we'll take that and we'll put it across the front page?
I think these people are idiots.
I think they're idiots. I think there's no doubt about that.
I've got WhatsApp groups that work with various colleagues. At no point on those WhatsApp groups would I share anything on there that would criticise my colleagues or our customers, right? No point. Because I can't trust anyone,
No.
fundamentally, right?
But and just to be clear, I don't disagree at all that these people are idiots.
Yeah.
I'm just not that comfortable with this current method of basically anything you say anywhere in any point of life, if you're a person in the public eye, it can get back to those people who are then going to cause moral outrage about it. And I'm not comfortable with that.
I've no doubt that slagging off their constituents has happened behind closed doors for the last 300 years of politics.
Of course
right?
it has.
Of course it has. Slagging off their fellow MPs, slagging off their staff. If you've ever watched the thick of it, I can imagine that's exactly what that's like.
Yeah.
Right? But, back in those days they had memos maybe, but those memos were professional.
Yeah.
Now they've got private groups that they think they can get away with on. And for that reason, they are morons. If they think they can get away with it.
I 100% agree they're morons. I'm just not comfortable with people not being allowed to be morons anymore. Because people are morons. They will do stupid things. And it feels wrong that the press goes, right, we're going to make that person pay with their career for being a moron.
Yeah, but he is a government minister.
All the more moron.
He was elected to represent his constituents, and he was then chosen by the Prime Minister or whoever to sit in the government. So he's part of government, and that comes with responsibility, doesn't it? Now, any newspaper or journalistic enterprise worth its salt, given the chance to point out yet again that a government minister is a moron, is going to do it.
Yeah, true.
And so they should. So absolutely, back to your original question, should the press have reported it? Absolutely they should, 100% they should. Because once you don't, or if you choose not to ignore behaviour like that, or language like that, that's been used by elected public officials, then you are well on the road towards Trump and Musk.
Yeah, and it was good. And the problem is with Trump and Musk, etc., is they can basically say what they like and still not pay any penalty. So you do need some sort of checks and balances in society. I do understand that. I just wonder where that line is nowadays. James Cleverly made a joke about Rohypnol, which probably an enormous amount of men have made about their wives over the years, because it's like it's a standard trope. I don't get any sex with my wife, blah, 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 etc., etc. It's a standard kind of male joke. Yeah. But James Cleverly says it, and suddenly there's this massive great thing going on, and he should be sacked, and etc., 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 because of an off-the-cuff remark in a party. It feels like the fun police, the new Puritans, have decided that no one must say anything that they disagree with anymore, and no one must make a joke which is even remotely off colour anymore.
I think it's about knowing your audience, isn't it? I mean, if on a WhatsApp group, if I was in a WhatsApp group with, I am with youth, two learned gentlemen, there are certain things I know I can get away with, and it wouldn't colour your opinion of me, right? If that same joke or same comment might fall on deaf ears or even offended ears around a table in a pub. A comedian could say something very contentious on a comedic game show and face no recriminations because it's done in the nature of comedy. But a politician saying it would get castigated, mainly because it wouldn't be funny because they're not a comedian. But it's about the audience and the context of what it's being conveyed. So
there is a lot of comedians who get a lot of flack from certain areas, people like The Guardian, for telling jokes as if it's their opinion.
But that's always been the case, isn't it? Comedians going back
many years, step over a line.
There've always been people who stepped over the line, and with hindsight, when you look back at some of the comedians who, were cracking jokes. I'm waving my fingers and I say that. Back in the 70s and 80s, you look back now and it's cringeworthy, isn't it?
It is cringeworthy.
Some of the television that was being made, even down to Benny Hill, which I can remember sitting down with my parents and watching, and everyone chuckling away. Yeah, I didn't really get it because I wasn't very old, but you look at that now and it is cringeworthy, isn't it?
Well, it's just not funny. The main thing that I noticed about that stuff, I saw some of the Two Ronnies a little while back. It's just not funny. It's not that. I suppose it is cringeworthy at some of it, but it's also mainly just not funny. It's lazy. It doesn't have any cleverness to it. Whereas,
comedy evolves it, doesn't it?
Exactly. So, yeah.
But you go back to James Cleverly. James Cleverly is not a comedian.
No, but he's quite able to make a joke.
When he cracked that joke, was he still running then to be leader of the Tory party? Or was it just after that?
I can't remember when it was. Yeah.
Exactly. Do you know what I mean? But he's been a senior political figure in the UK for the last 5 or 6 years, hasn't he? And you come back to the phrase moronic again. For someone of his standing to make a joke like that within earshot of anyone, he's an idiot.
Yeah.
He's an idiot. Now,
you have 3 or 4 drinks, you make a joke, you don't expect people to be taking you seriously. You don't expect it to get to the press, for definite.
You don't, I don't. But
well, no, I don't think they should have to expect it. I don't think they should have to be on guard all the time.
But if you exist in that sort of environment, if you're in the Westminster hierarchy and that sort of thing, you have to expect intense media scrutiny. If you don't, you're a moron.
I think they should be on guard all the time. I'm amazed if they're not on guard,
Are we getting the best out of politicians if they are on guard all the time? If they are constantly monitoring what they say? Aren't we going to get the better out of people if we allow them, their thought processes to develop in a more open way? If you are constantly guarding against saying something, you might miss that big idea because you're too afraid of saying the thing that will lead you to it. Do we think we're making a society which is becoming more and more contracted, less and less able to just get on with life without constantly thinking? And if we are constantly thinking, we are not working at our best capacity.
I agree with you 100%. I think that there's absolutely a danger of that. But we're in a society, they've always existed, where there need to be checks and balances, don't they? and you can see the rise of, there's a politician on this side of the Atlantic, and there's a president of the United States who say whatever they want.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that makes a lot of us deeply uncomfortable as well.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt. I don't know what the solution is. I just worry that by limiting freedom of what we're basically ending up doing is starting this new religion whereby you're not allowed to say anything that's ever offensive to anyone ever, because somehow when people are offended, they have a right to stop your freedom of speech.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but on the context of the Andrew Gwynn scenario, which is the start of this, I would expect them to speak in that way about their constituents. I mean, behind a closed door, I would expect it, right? I wouldn't get to hear it normally, ever, but I would, if they weren't behaving like that, I'd be amazed.
And he wouldn't want you to hear it.
No, correct, yeah. But they've chosen to behave like that, fine, on a forum that they could get exposed. And I think that's different, because as soon as it's exposed, you're exposed to every single opinion that's available in the broad British spectrum, political spectrum, right? So, and I think, that's it again. These people are stupid if they've allowed that to happen. But I would expect them to behave like that.
Yeah,
it's human nature, it's human character, it's everything about them. It makes humanity what it is.
Yeah. Saying that controversial thing is undoubtedly mostly the funny thing. If you take out the ability to say that controversial thing, you are reducing the ability to have fun, without a doubt.
Yeah,
within society, and that's not a good thing.
No, I think you're right. I think we are in a society now where you definitely have to be a lot more careful about what you say,
without a doubt. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
Well, it's frustrating.
I don't care if people are offended. What difference does it make? Be offended. Good. You're offended. Someone else isn't offended. Let's all move on.
But you are a white middle class. You are. We all are, aren't we? And we view the world from that position. There's nothing you can do about that. You do. I do. You do. And I actually, there's no doubt we're moving into, or we're in the middle of a society movement where cracking jokes or banter. And there's a whole thing. We had to look up the meaning of banter, didn't we, before we started this? And what does banter actually mean now? Well, we all kind of know what it means, but you can very easily, and we all will have done. I'm sure all three of us will have done. Got into situations, either in the football team, in the pub afterwards, or at work, when somebody said something and everyone's gone, blimey, calm down, Nick.
Do you know what I was
specifically? Calm down, Nick.
Did anyone talk about getting offended? Did anyone hear at the weekend, or just on the weekend? I think that Peter Kay, the comedian, he's. I
was just thinking of this.
He's doing a tour, and he had 10 or 12 members of the audience kicked out of his thing for heckling, which is a typical thing that comedians always have to deal with. In fact, many of them encourage it, right? So it was reported that he'd done that. He was quite forceful with it with his security crew. But then there was one woman who's taken offence in the national media because Peter Kay compared her to Lisa Riley, right? The actress,
Emmerdale,
right? And she didn't like that one bit. And I thought to myself, I wonder how Lisa Riley thinks about this. That some random woman has taken offence at the fact that she was compared to. If a guy was then compared to Brad Pitt, would he be offended? No, of course he wouldn't. If he was compared to David Beckham, no, he wouldn't be offended. If that woman was compared to, I don't know, Giselle Bundchen, would she be offended? No.
She did look just like Lisa Riley too.
But it's just, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with this. Other than it's such a shame that if comedy is then turned into something you can get offended by. To your point, Rob, where are we left with? Exactly. That was the one last bastion of kind of freedom of speech, surely.
Yeah, exactly. I think Stephen Fry's very good on this subject. He's basically said something along the lines of so you're offended. I don't care. I'm making jokes. You can be offended all you like. That's part of the point.
Yeah.
It's you be offended. I'm going to carry on doing it. And that's really where I'm at with it. It's like, we've got to stop taking all these people who are professionally offended so seriously. We've just got to stop doing it. Otherwise, we will have this horrible society where everything is sanitized.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I agree.
You're going to say a but. I always get buts.
But I still think MPs who put things like that in WhatsApp groups are morons.
Well, I mean, I think we're all agreed that he's a moron. I just worry that we're creating a situation where our MPs will end up. I said it before Labour got in power, because Labour were all over the Tories. They're doing this and they're doing that, and every single little thing they pounced on and said, look, that's them, they're corrupt, they do that, etc., etc. And now Labour are paying the price of that, because they've created that environment whereby basically every MP is scrutinised to that degree. I think it's perfectly reasonable that Keir Starmer has tickets to see Arsenal and that he has to go into a box to watch it because it's safe to do so. He's been an Arsenal fan all his life. Of course it's a sensible thing to do. But he's created, and that party have created, and those Liberals have created this environment where they just criticised everything that any Tory did in every single way, and it's their own fault. It's coming home to roost. The Taylor Swift concerts, this guy up in the north who's said stupid things on a WhatsApp group. It's all happening because they are constantly at each other's throats about any niggly little thing and not actually running our country. There you go. Right. That's that's the end of that episode. What do you think, guys?
Well, I can talk
final word sits with you.
They should get on and run our country instead of moaning at each other about tiny little things like Taylor Swift concerts.
It's a fascinating topic, though, because I sort of agree with you. This could spiral out of control to a point where everyone's just literally walking on eggshells.
Yeah, that's really where I'm going with it.
Yeah, exactly, and that is wrong. But then, to your point, you've got two gentlemen on the other side of the Atlantic who are clearly sort of like,
morons.
Well, morons, but doing the opposite. They're willing to. But I guess they've got such unprecedented levels of control and influence and power that they are unquestionable, really, to be honest.
There are people in that country, they could do whatever they like and they would still vote for them.
Yeah.
Vote for him. Yeah. Vote for Trump.
Who else are morons?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You're going back to your point about the Keir Starmer football tickets. The original thing wasn't about the football tickets, was it? It was really about free clothes and free glasses. I think that was all a bit toe curling, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And again, I'm kind of with you. You kind of expect that. You want a prime minister to look his best. And
the wage isn't that much.
But again, it comes to about as each little revelation came out, it just revealed this sort of culture, didn't it, of almost entitlement and
certainly what's in it for me.
Exactly, which on the back of is very strong and very welcome. I have to say, campaigning when he was saying we will govern with integrity and there'll be no more of that lot and no more of this. It was, again, you can't blame the press because it was a great story. No.
I mean, it's definitely a story. These things have become a story. I worry that we've gone too far down this road of it being a story, that actually we're not dealing with the issues now. Someone described it as the narcissism of small differences. We are fighting amongst ourselves about these silly little things, whilst Putin takes over Ukraine and China are just about to go into Taiwan and they're building their armies up and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the West has these tiny little narcissism of small differences. And I found that a really interesting concept, that actually what we're doing is squabbling amongst ourselves, and while these other powers are building up their armies, getting ready to take on the world. And it's what happened. The article that I read, I think it was Matthew Said in the Sunday Times, and he compared it to the fall of the Roman Empire, because it was exactly what happened at that point. They ended up just squabbling amongst themselves, and another empire came in and just took over. It's an interesting concept. And I worry that the West has gone too far down this tittle-tattle stuff. And that the press should be a bit more high-minded and maybe just go, it's just a WhatsApp joke. Let's not put it in the press this time.
Well, you know I don't agree with that.
Fair enough.
But you can't. I hear what you're saying, and I sort of agree with you. But you can't have it from a politician. You just simply can't. Any degrees of impropriety you just can't have.
Well, I think
It goes back to Nixon's days at Watergate and all that sort of stuff. You know, and that was obviously highly criminal. But you can't have any sort of. You've got to work and live like a saint to be an MP or a politician.
I think you do now. I don't think you necessarily should have to.
Well, I don't know.
I think everybody's got their flaws. What I want them to deliver is a good economy. I don't really care whether they're getting free tickets to Taylor Swift or not. If they're making the economy good and we're getting good growth and we're building some houses and we're making things a bit better, I don't really care about all this nonsense.
I
don't care if they're making stupid jokes in WhatsApp groups. Just make some houses, make the base a bit better.
I sort of care. Because going back to the points we made right at the start is that I know they're going to slack their constituents off. I know that, right? I slack people off. Sorry, whoever's listening that might get slacked off. I know they do this, but they are. One thing worried for me is that they are stupid enough to think it won't get out, right? And if they're stupid enough to think that, what else in their capacity of professionalism are they stupid in? That's the worry for me. And I'm thinking, right, we've got an MP there who's fundamentally dense. Get rid of him.
This is why I think most conspiracy theories are false, because I just don't think anyone out there is intelligent enough to make them work and keep them secret.
Yeah.
It's like, I just don't think it's possible that MPs are clever enough to make up a conspiracy and keep it secret. It's just not possible. So I don't believe
best
that.
Of the best.
Yeah, exactly. I don't believe in conspiracy theories because people are too stupid to make them work.
Yeah.
Anyway, have we got anything to add to this discussion?
No. I'm exhausted.
That's been quite enjoyable. I've quite enjoyed that one. That's been good fun.
You've got a lot off your chest.
Yeah. I told you I was a grumpy old man, didn't I? Anyway, thank you for listening, everybody. Please do like and subscribe. Hopefully we've kept you entertained and made you think about something, and we will see you in another 3 weeks' time. We're recording again. So goodbye from me.
Bye for now.
All.
That was a bit two Ronnies. That was a throwback, wasn't it, to the two Ronnies?
It's goodbye from him. And it's goodbye from me.
Good night.